It's that time again. Sam Altman opened his darn mouth, and we have some thoughts on it. Are we at the singularity? Are robots taking over the Earth? Do we even know what that means? These are all things we're going to be talking about this week on the HiTech Podcast. What is up, folks? Welcome to another week of the HiTech Podcast. Here, I'm Josh, one of the hosts of the HiTech Podcast. And joined with me in a slightly salmon-colored shirt like me is the great William Illingworth. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Hey, my friend. We didn't even coordinate. We just showed up and we're like, oh, hey.
Just reached that level, you know? Let's get to the real stuff. But before we do, just a reminder, if you're listening to the HiTech Podcast and you have not subscribed to the HiTech Podcast across our socials or wherever you're listening to the HiTech Podcast, rude. You should go do that at HiTech Podcast or at HiTech Pod. You can find us on any of the socials at those two. If one doesn't work, just try the other. It's that simple. There you go. Nailed it. Go subscribe, like, do all those things. Really helps us out, and we appreciate all of you who have done that recently within the last year. We got some more subscribers across the platform, so that's cool. We appreciate that. Thanks. If you want to reach out to us, you're like, subscribing isn't enough. I must talk to these two salmon-shirted, bearded people.
Thank you. So kind. I was included.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. Again, both are walls. So if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can email us at inbox@hitechpod.us, and by us I mean you can email Will there, and he will respond, but he'll let me know if it involves me. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Will's just having conversations, but sometimes I need to know about things. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so you can email us at inbox@hitechpod.us. You can also check out our website, hitechpod.us. We have fun episode pages, pictures of us, though one of us has a beard and the other doesn't in that picture. we need to update the pictures.
In our salmon shirts. Should we just take pictures tonight and you can take the black?
Hit it like this? Yeah, maybe. You can hit us up at hitechpod.us as well. That's our website. So yeah, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to let us know if you want to be a guest on the podcast. Email us. That'd be great. You have opinions about salmon-colored shirts? Hit us up. That'd be great. Whatever that is, you can find us there. Okay. With that said, it's time for another hard-hitting news segment of the HiTech Podcast. Our episode topics on the HiTech Podcast have taken a bit of a different shift over this last year, and we've been doing more news-based stuff sometimes, mainly because I gotta admit, this is probably how comedians felt during during Trump administration, but this is how I feel as a tech podcast, that at least the AI companies have given us an absurd amount of content to talk about. Between them and the government together, we keep getting a lot of stuff to keep talking about. Okay, so, but don't worry, Anthropic. This isn't your episode. This is about
you dodged it this time.
This is about the good old Altimen, if you will, alts as I call them. That's not true. I was trying to come up with a nickname for him. I don't really have a nickname for him. The alt. I don't know.
Go ask AI for a nickname about him.
I mean, guess.
One of the things that's great about this is we don't even have to try. Week to week, this stuff just comes to us. And frankly, as long as people keep saying stupid stuff, we've got something to react to. So
hey, it may not be stupid. We're giving away our opinions ahead of time. We gotta be careful about that.
Oh, it's brilliant. You're right.
It's great. But okay, so let's break down what happened here. Okay, now again, as Will and I will say on the HiTech Podcast, we are just average nerds who love tech, who also use AI probably a little too much, and with strong opinions. So clear experts you should listen to. So again, we are not expert AI developers or anything in that realm. So our opinions on this, I'm just going to give this ahead of time, are purely that. Okay, they're opinions from what we know from AI. Okay, now I think we're two pretty smart dudes sometimes, so hopefully this is helpful for you. But anyway, okay, so breakdown. Sam Altman, who basically every time he opens his mouth totally says things that everybody loves. So as you don't know, Sam Altman is the head of OpenAI, runs ChatGPT. Maybe you've heard of it. Sam Altman was recently interviewed here, and the head of the article here, I'm actually going to bring up the article because I have some breakdowns on my own of it, but I want to bring up the articles that have been flooding my news site at this point. which is Sam Altman. Let's see here. Thank you, Forbes. Sorry, I'm on Forbes' website. I'm trying to bring up their article on it, and it wouldn't let me
Not a
scroll
sponsor.
I just got stuck. Yeah, definitely not a sponsor, because apparently they don't know how to use scroll bars. Okay. Let's try this again. Here we go. Basically quoted as saying this. We're in the singularity. Okay, that's what Sam Altman was quoted saying. Now, what he actually said was this. He was on the podcast, the Relentless podcast. He was telling the show, we are now sorry, I love reading quotes from people like Sam Altman, because it's like, if these ever get quoted in history, like, man, we've went downhill. Like in the
from
in
Abraham
the,
Lincoln,
yeah,
fourscore
to
and
this.
7 years ago,
to we're now like in the singularity.
Dude, whoa.
We're being run by a surfer. No. So basically, here's the general gist of where he went with this. Okay, this all comes out of an article that broke a little bit earlier, which is that OpenAI has been testing their newer AI model. So recently, Anthropic made it into the news with their Mythos model, Fable 5, which is now back since we've done our episode on that. If you're not sure, it's now accessible
from
again.
outer space.
But of course, OpenAI needs their own one, so they've been working on GPT 5.6, nicknamed Soul, I believe, is what they've been tying to it.
Terrifying.
But basically, they were doing tests, and as far as I understand this, well, this is, you've been reading the articles too. From what I understand, the test with this AI, the AI basically, it was given a certain like cybersecurity test. It ended up breaking that test and worming its way out into the internet. Like, it basically got out. It was originally isolated in a sandbox, got out into the internet, and then became obsessed with the fact that Hugging Face's production servers had what it needed, and it basically tried to cheat the test, is what it did. Like, it tried to go through and cheat the test. Okay,
was that the Kobayashi Maru or whatever from
from Star Trek is what you're thinking of. Yeah.
It tried to
so
break
basically
it.
did that. It ended up hacking Hugging Face's servers. It took OpenAI a couple days to actually tell them what happened. It's a whole thing, which is just great. And so the argument that he's making, right, is that we've hit the singularity moment. Okay. Now, before we go any farther, Will, would you like to tell our listeners what you think the singularity means? I'm saying you because I'm the one who brought up all the definitions. I'm transitioning to you like you were the one who did it. So I'm just going to give you your...
Gladly. No, because this isn't something new to me. But before I do that, I do just want to read one more profound quote
another
from
profound,
Mr. Altman.
Another profound alt proverb,
and
if you will.
I want to give. Well done. I want to give it like some Keanu Reeves vibes. You know, like I feel like there's like.
Don't be
it's the first time in like more than a decade I've thought about what is the next thing. He said, "That's the Sam Altman quote." It's the first time in like more than a decade I've thought about what is the next thing. Anyways,
okay. First of all, this is the load of crap. But
is speaking for speaking's sake, and also the editors, the people writing this, like that's what you quoted. Come on, what is the singularity?
We're spicy tonight. We're just like tearing everybody a new one.
You ask me how my day's been. You don't need to. So back in the year of our Lord 2012, 2013, something like that. You and I were in a course. I believe you were in that course with me. It was a theology course, and I was introduced to the singularity for the first time. There was a professor whom you know, and you might catch with some of this information, who was formerly an atheist and then now a Christian theology instructor, right?
Were we in this course together? Are you sure? Because this is not sounding familiar.
I don't know, but you do know who I'm talking about.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Yeah.
So this professor was fairly enthused with the idea of the singularity, and he believed that humans, and of course this is again a Christian theology context, so put that into your perspective as
you and I never had a course with him together, by the way. So I appreciate that you put me in this course, but I've had courses with him.
Yeah, I figured you at least would have the flavor. Anyway,
I'm sure it came up there, but I was not there with you in this moment.
He was teaching us and discussing the point of the singularity, because in that context it was this approach to like humans trying to rebuke their creator and humans trying to be defiant towards creation and the natural and humanly body. So he was pushing it and pointing towards it as what humans were trying to do to become unhuman. By integrating robot and flesh, we might surpass human limitations. We might live longer, we might live infinitely, etc.
Yeah.
And so when he was telling us about this, he didn't not yet, this is 15 years ago. He didn't have an idea of where AI would be today in 2026, but he was talking about this idea that the humans would seek a world in which their bodies would be integrated with technology. And what we know today is that, and I think there's a book, very famous book from a futurist from 2005 or something that spawned this terminology, Kurzweil or something like that.
Yes.
The idea that the singularity...
Kurzweil is one of them. I'm actually going back. Kurzweil wouldn't have been the first one.
Okay.
But
Kurzweil was like, if we get super intelligence through computers will figure out how to limit or reduce or eliminate the human limitations of life, of death, that we would transcend what we know of things. So that's where I was introduced to the idea of the singularity. That's the context in which I understand of it, and what I would think is I think is fairly true to where we're probably going with this. But no doubt you've got some flavor to add. Put a little extra spice on it.
I did a little bit of dive because I know what the term means. We brought it up on the podcast before, but as you and I have talked, Will, not about that class we were not in together. We
wish you were there. Gosh, why'd you skip, dude?
I would have been great, actually. I probably
have
would have appreciated the class, but I wasn't in that class. I'm sure I took a class that had that in it, but it wasn't with you in it. So like I know the term, but mainly from like sci-fi. I'm a big sci-fi nerd, and the context of singularity is often referenced in sci-fi. It's been up to this point a sci-fi idea, if you will, and nothing beyond that. Now, I did do a quick dive here because I was curious. I actually, even in this conversation, wasn't sure where the term singularity first came from. And so there's, I think, a bit of debate on this, to be perfectly honest. And so if you're a listener and you know a little bit more about this, as far as I could find when I was doing digging, it seems usually credited towards a guy by the name of von Neumann, back in 1950 or 1958, 1960s.
Wow.
Out of the American Bulletin of American Mathematical Society. He described a conversation. It seems basically this was kind of like after this guy's death, there was a conversation described with him where they were talking about this idea of the accelerating pace of technology and its changes to human life, which seemed to be approaching some essential singularity, is where the term concept came from, which is basically the idea of a point beyond which the human affairs, what we do, we understand, basically a big transformation moment in the way we live as humans, and we kind of surpass, there is in this idea surpassing what we are right now, right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason I think there's some debate is because here's the thing about the term singularity. It's up until recently, I would argue, it wasn't a popular term people knew. It was like a sci-fi term.
Sure.
It was referenced, right? But it wasn't originally about AI, and it was about technology in general. And the idea of why singularity is popping up so much now is because that's the thing everybody's talking about related to AI. But what I think is interesting about this idea, before we can even answer the question of do we agree with Altman's prediction, is that nobody seems to actually entirely agree on what we mean by singularity, right? So like if you go back to Neumann in early 58, no, just 58.
I suppose late 58?
Yeah, it's supposed to late 58.
Mid 58. It was a wonderful summer.
I feel like I pulled my dad. He recently, we were just busting on him because he said something, it's a long 45 minutes. And I made the joke of what exactly is a long 45 minutes? Like, is that an hour? Or is it
that
just,
is good.
Like, what is that? Anyway, yep, that's to you, Dad, if you ever end up listening to this episode.
All right, folks, we're just taking a quick break from the episode to remind you about the HiTech Club. If you want to be a club member, you can support the podcast by contributing $3 a month or at a yearly rate, just $30. That helps us keep the podcast running, keeps the costs low for us, and it provides a number of benefits for you, like Josh.
Like getting to see our faces more. That's one. I think that's a benefit,
Big
personally. Yeah, no, you get extended cuts of the episodes. So our episodes are a certain length that we release on our platforms, but you're going to get the full unedited versions of all the high-tech hijinks that happens on those episodes. You also get a unique link to be able to vote on ideas for future episodes. Will and I have a huge list of ideas at any time for what we're going to be talking about. We'd love to hear from you as members about what we talk about on the podcast. And so you'll be able to vote through that as well. And then some other stuff is going to be coming here, hopefully in the next handful of months as a high-tech club member, including merchandise. So you have to keep an eye out for that. We'll keep you updated in that area.
And no future interruptions. You
Yes.
get these ads to go away.
If you're tired of us talking like this, subscribe. Become a member.
We appreciate it. Head over to hightechpod.us to get more information. As always, you can find all of our links there for subscribing and supporting the podcast.
Link will also be in the description of the video of the episode, so make sure you can check that out as well.
Boom.
Hey, Randy.
Anyway.
Miss you. Hope you're doing well.
Yes. It's basically Neumann is giving this idea. He was a mathematician. So it was this idea of basically technological change where he hit a point that basically everything changes. It was a concept that like the model we know of life now completely changes because of technological advancement. And he was commenting on it, as far as I can tell from my digging. Again, I'm not a Neumann expert. I'm not a historian on this. This was basically some Google search digging, resource digging, finding real articles. That's where Neumann comes from. Now, if you ask people today, generally where they'll point to the definition of the singularity, there's a couple different places, right? So like in 1965, there's another conversation, a British mathematician describes this idea of ultra intelligence where machine surpasses all human intellectual activity. So basically this idea of where machine gets so enhanced that it can enhance itself to even enhance itself further and further. So basically it surpasses its creators because itself starts to design itself in a way that we could never design. Basically leaving human intelligence far behind. They call it called it the last invention humans would ever need to make, was the idea. Later on, you get 1993, there's another, Vernor Vinge talks about this. Again, another mathematician that really obsessed apparently with us growing past our limits. He, though, was also a science fiction author, and he gave the term kind of the modern view that we look at it, which is he framed it as this imminent creation of something greater than human intelligence that would mean the end of the human era, and that our models for the future would break down completely. And so basically the singularity comes from basically this moment that we can't see past because it just surpasses what we can understand. This brings us to 2005, Will, which is to where you would... Now, I'm sure there's a lot of other things in between that. I'm giving a very high-level view of this, but in 2005, this is what most people will point back to. Who you were referencing, Will, is Ray Kurzweil, okay? So what he defines it as is this future period in which technological change becomes so rapid and profound, the human life, again, is irreversibly transformed. He grounds it in an exponential trend, and this is where something changes a little bit. Which is he is referencing AI at this point in 2005. He's talking about artificial intelligence. But it's this exponential trend, which is basically where things grow so fast that human and machine intelligence merge together. And rather than a replacement, he famously pins it around 2045, it's basically this civilization, humanity and technology become one. Okay, this is this idea, right? And so like you'll hear, right, some very similarities between all of these. This idea of surpassing human understanding and everything being irreversibly transformed. Now, I have shared on the podcast before, I'm a Christian. I come from that background. And so my opinion of this is I would actually agree with some of the theology stuff that Will was hearing, that this is humans' attempt to become God, essentially. But we won't go down that train too far at this point. But that's generally where we're at, okay? I think Kurzweil has had the most impact on people's understanding of the singularity. But the problem is, Will, you may have caught this in all these definitions, and I'm curious your thoughts on these definitions and just history. This is all over the place. Like, it's like they're basically like describing an idea But then in the day to day in AI, I feel like everybody's just saying, we've hit that idea. We got there. Like, it's not this concrete thing. I don't know. What's your thoughts as you're hearing the definitions and kind of thinking through this? And yeah.
I do acknowledge that like the chronology here is a natural progression, right? So Neumann or whatever the name is, of course, going back to the 50s, like that's expected. Kurzweil even is looking at this in the 2000s, so it doesn't yet have the 2020s perspective, but in 2005 we had so much more computing power than we had in the 70s or 80s that we already felt like we had reached something not previously capable. Now, if I mean, if you just Googled, average processor or average hard drive space in 2005 compared to 2026, I would bet it's something like a 400-500% increase, if not more.
Yeah.
None of this is surprising. The articles
we were looking at for Altman stuff, they make some arguments that like even from getting from early GPT taking 440 days to what we have now is taking 140 days. You can see even just in the AI world, exponential curve in the way things are progressing.
Right.
For just as an example, what you're talking about, Will.
But like one of the things that comes to mind with this is while some of us are thinking, okay, we're seeing this in the context of today. Some of the point that we're seeing in the difference of the 50s, the 2000s to 2026 is it's about what's available to us. We're making these decisions, I would say, I don't think I've ever lost my words like that on the podcast. We're making these decisions without the full picture, but also myopically. It's like, oh my gosh, ChatGPT's blah, or Fable 5 Mythos today, Claude, wow. That's what's, we don't know what's going to be in now because of AI. We don't know what's going to happen in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. In the 50s, he couldn't have predicted 2000, but in 2000, he certainly couldn't predict 2025. So that's a 75-year gap, and we have no idea. The human minds were not able to process what's possible in that time frame.
Here's my problem, because I would push back on that. In the 70s, they predicted a lot of crap that never happened in the 2000s.
Sure.
Like we can't predict the future.
Right.
This is part of the problem, right? And so the singularity idea is very vague. We can't predict the future. We never could, right? And so this description of what singularity looks like is also a very vague bar. It's not really even a bar at this point. It's like a cloud whisper up in the sky that we're reaching for, but we don't actually know how far it is. And so like for my point, it's kind of like, I mean, there's a common theme, right, which is like growing past what humanity has, but like that's so vague. And like what does that actually mean? Like to me, it's like that's because like somebody could argue that like in the 70s they would have never imagined we are where we are today.
Sure.
We've grown past what we thought humans could do. But that doesn't mean we've like surpassed humanity. Like we just, technology grew. Like that's basically, we developed better technology. I mean, that's essentially the idea. We have almost this ingrained element of humanity to acknowledge that the world now is not what it should be. And I would argue that it is hubris to think that we can create enough technology to get us out of that. And here's why. Because all you need to do is look at human history to go, this is why that's not going to happen. We will usually screw it up before we get anywhere close to it. Okay?
Again, human nature.
Human nature. And like, so I think this is part of the problem. So, okay, singularity idea definition. Surpassing tech, whatever, surpasses, and I think this is the Will and Josh version of this definition. Maybe they'll add this to the history books right after whoever was the last person. Now I can't remember, Kurzweil. But it'll add this in the history books afterwards. Right, but like it's essentially this idea of humanity ascending past its current limitations. And in this case, using technology. Okay, so if that's the definition, Will, have we got there simply because GPT broke through to the internet and hacked another tech company?
Yeah.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Give your take. Nope, give your take.
All right. I definitely think that the headline sensationalized. Surprise, shock, no.
What?
Not. So like
news people sensationalizing headlines? What's happening? That never happens.
Sam says, like, I think we're here, maybe, like it's such a sensationalized article. I didn't listen to the podcast, so maybe it's more clear in the thrust of his
No,
podcast.
it's probably not.
But-
As somebody who's listened to this guy talk, it's probably not more clear. So yeah, here's a couple things to take into consideration. The one thing Will and I didn't get to is that part of where Altman is coming from is Altman had an essay back in June 2025 called The Gentle Singularity. And it's this idea about cumulative milestones where AI gets more and more capable and spreads into everyday work and begins helping researchers improve the technology that follows. Gradual acceleration rather than one dramatic moment, right? Is basically Altman's argument that the singularity is going to come gradually. It's not going to happen in this moment like that was described before. Now, here's my take, Will. I'm gonna give this a term, and any of my coworkers will know what I mean by this immediately when I say it because they hear me get on the soapbox constantly and complain. Okay, I want to call this a hoverboard moment. Okay, and what I mean by that is Will knows this. Okay, several years ago, okay, we got this thing called a hoverboard. Okay, if those of you know what the hoverboard is, okay, it's this little board piece of plastic connected to two wheels on the side. You can lean forward, you can move around. It's one wheel is another. One wheel's not. They don't call it a hoverboard, which is I have feelings of why they don't. But this general idea, right? Nothing revolutionary, right? It's like Segway without the handles. Okay, right? Little hoverboard. They lit on fire at one point. Okay, that was the thing that happened. But we called it the hoverboard. For a long time, people, coming close. Okay, coming close. Okay. For a long time have felt like this was us giving up. Because what the hoverboard that we know doesn't do? It doesn't hover! Okay? There's no hovering. The hoverboard from Back to the Future with Marty McFly just hovered on nothing. And we were like, we're never gonna get there. So we'll just name this stupid fire starter with wheels a hoverboard. Okay? I'm clearly passionate about this. This is what one of my coworkers said. This is the dumbest thing to be passionate about. They're wrong. They also never watch Back to the Future. That's why they feel that way. They should watch it, and then they will know.
The truth shall set you free. Okay,
Yes,
that's all we need to. That's what we need to know.
This is a hoverboard moment. Okay, this gentle singularity idea is just basically lowering the fake bar that was never clear, so that we can make an argument that we've hit some magic moment with technology. Is AI interesting? Is AI incredible what it can do? Is it terrifying what it can do at times? 100%. Okay, but it is misleading to keep using this word singularity because it's not what was meant by the term singularity when it was first come up with. Okay, we've changed the definition from being this momentous moment where we supposedly ascend. I would argue we've changed the definition from this absurdly arrogant concept that we're going to no longer be humans because we created technology and we're not going to screw it up and we'll be great and we'll never have to work and that's all our problems will go away. We've created this arrogant concept, and then when we realized we were never going to hit it, we just kind of lowered it. Okay?
Let's bring the bar down to here.
Let's bring the bar down. We're never going to get a real hoverboard, so we're going to change it to a board with wheels, and we're going to call it a hoverboard, even though we never got there. And I think really what OpenAI does is they change this definition of singularity. And this is why there's so much debate about this, because some people have said we've hit the singularity because their definition's completely different. Some people will say we're going to hit that in 4 years, but they don't actually know what we mean. What they really mean is we'll hit the singularity in 4 years. So that gives me an excuse to fire 1,000 people and throw AI at it. Okay. Like this is lazy defining so that we can get more money into companies that need more money and investment. Okay. My biggest problem with these definitions and this stuff is that it's coming out of the mouths of people who run companies who are incentivized to do it. Okay. Like this is, don't get me wrong, it's not crazy. It's crazy what some of these tools can do, but I'm sorry, an AI tool that wasn't given proper guardrails that broke through cybersecurity to another company is not the same thing as Arnold Schwarzenegger time traveling back in time and trying to shoot John Connor. Okay, it's not the same thing, and all we're doing is muddying the AI conversation in an unhelpful way. Okay. I don't think we've reached the singularity. I don't think we're ever going to reach the singularity personally. I think everybody keeps pointing to this recursive curve of how fast technology is evolving. Surprise, you can look at history and see that recursive curve all over the place in history with technology, and then it eventually massively plateaus out for a long period of time.
Or
okay?
a society gets destroyed.
Yes, okay? Or a society does dumb things like, I don't know, connecting AI into robots and drones with missiles. That seems like that might happen.
You should try it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shut.
I'm getting more burnt up about this than I thought I was going to. I think this whole AI conversation is just, this side of the conversation is so, and I know we're feeding into this by having this on the podcast, so we're only gonna do one episode on this, but I just think this is just, it's not helping the conversation. All it's doing is sensationalizing everything with AI, and it's bringing things back away from the important conversations, which is how we use this well, how we put guardrails in place so an AI tool doesn't wire itself into the internet and hack something. And shift the conversation to, hey, maybe Captain Altman over there, you should start thinking about the future every more than a decade and start asking the question, should I do something, instead of I can do it. Because I don't know, I'm spicy tonight. I've about had it with lazy 5-year-olds running Silicon Valley companies, billion-dollar companies, and getting to throw around whatever terms they want. I would just like us to get more serious about what we're actually doing, and these types of conversations don't help.
I think we are seeking something that we don't want. There's many people participating in the effort to reach a singularity, or to be involved in the singularity cycle, but I don't personally want that result. And I don't think it's actually the true evolution of man. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that mankind, humanity as a species, has a necessary life cycle, and it's important. Living and dying are natural parts of the experience. And so to, I don't know, cheat that, to try and change that to whatever, I appreciate the idea that we figured out how to do heart transplants. It gives people a few more years in life. My father passed away from colon cancer. I would love for us to eradicate cancer or figure out how to get rid of that so folks could have, but that still doesn't mean I wouldn't look forward to my father's eventual natural death. It is an appropriate and healthy part of the human experience. I still to this day do not want him back as much as I miss him. I wanted him to live the life he had an opportunity to live. And so medical advancements can help us with that, but he himself would never have wanted to be Robocop. And if that's what the singularity, or if anything of that ilk is what the singularity is seeking, I think it's misguided. I think it's hubris. I think it's dangerous. And two little robot agents fighting each other for, fighting, hugging face, or whatever that website is not a demonstration of a successful indicator or prophecy of it. And to bring this back to biblical language, I'd say he's a false prophet, and it's time to get out the stones, baby.
Okay, we're not proponents of stoning people. I'd like to argue that.
Josh is not a proponent of stoning people.
Okay, well, one of us is not a proponent of stoning people. If you are angry at the other one for being that, you can email us at inbox@hitechpod.us. But no, I agree. I think like Will and I had this kind of a final part here, kind of this idea of we described what singularity could look like. Do we even want that to look like that? Again, I think what's mind-boggling to me in these conversations is like these organizations and people on this space. I mean, I saw somebody on a panel that was talking like this. It's like, this isn't the world most people want. And so why are we aiming for this? Why are we going down this direction? And again, I think it's human hubris. I think it's this idea that we can become gods, that we can become eternal, that we can become all these things. And I believe partially that's because naturally we see that the world is not the way it should be. But either way, that's massive hubris. And I just don't think it's going to happen. I think we'll eventually plateau out at a certain point. And the fact of the matter is most of these arguments that we've hit these places are hitting a lowered bar that was never the original bar, so that they can make these arguments, so investors can give money, so that they can continue to justify their bloated money absorbing ways without actually leveling what they're doing with this technology. And don't hear me. The argument is not, I think AI goes away, because I think AI is helpful. And I've obviously been very involved in my organization as well as other places implementing and working with AI. So I don't think that it should go away. I just think we need to start getting more realistic about what we're using it for and stop coming up with these absurd ideas and statements about where we're at. And also put more guardrails in place. My takeaway from this story is OpenAI should probably put some more guardrails on their testing. not we hit the singularity. If anybody else did this in any other organization, they'd be fired for like not putting the appropriate guardrails in place. Like, and that's the problem.
This is great smoke and mirrors to hide their oopsie. He can come out and say that this is a good thing. Meanwhile, they hacked another website. They're responsible for this attack on another website. Like, it is a great PR thing. They're able to obscure.
Yes. I mean, that's what it is. As much as I like Anthropic and Claude, everything they did with Mythos and stuff, at the end of the day, was a PR stunt to build up the model. The model may very well be capable of some seriously intense cybersecurity things, but they built it. You and I talked about this when we talked about the whole backlash that happened with the government. They built it up as a nuke and then got angry when people treated it that way. Like, so, like, this is just, I think we need to take more leveled, appropriate actions. This is why the reason Will and I wanted to talk about this is not just to make fun of these groups, which is also fun, but also because, like, if you look at what Will and I have done on this podcast over time, like, Will, you and I did the human tech series. We've done a couple of other episodes along this way. We are both proponents of a very human-centric, intentional way of interacting with technology.
Yes.
And I just don't see that happening across the AI companies at large. Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is, because Will and I still use these tools, right? We're not completely unculpable to what they're doing, right? We're using these tools in many ways. But I would just, we have a chance to do something different than what we did with social media, which is we have a chance to do this more carefully. And I think I'd like us to shift the conversation away from these stupid statements and hyped up ideas about AI and shift to a more careful use. So for the listener that's listening to this, what you can do coming out of this is what Will and I are trying to do, which is, in our scenarios, use the AI tools, but use them well and set an example for what it looks like to set appropriate guardrails, to set appropriate testing, to leverage them well while keeping the human at the center of what you're doing. That's the argument I would make. That's where the direction I think we should be going. We should not be going remove the human, because surprise, that's us. Like, okay, that's a smart idea. Yep. No, we should be looking at how we center our tech and our usage across. How do we get more creative? How do we leverage what makes us unique as humans and build on that? Not just how do we remove that, because it's not something to be removed. It's something to be built on and leveraged. And we don't need to create another tool that can do it for us. We should still be creatively working, living, doing all the things that we were created to do. We should be doing that and finding ways to have tech help us to do that better, enhance the quality, make it easier for us to do what makes us us. And I think if we focus on that goal over the goal being to remove us from the picture, we get a healthier perspective with AI. And I think we still have time as individuals to correct that as we're leveraging the tools in our own environments. Mic drop. Done.
You managed to be both Judge Josh and Preacher Josh in this episode, and honestly, respect. Big ups. Big ups, buddy. I love it. We don't disagree. I thank you for putting it that way, and I think that we hope that this episode is informational and also a good call. Think about these things, folks. We're the ones that have the chance to be participants in this and affect this change long term. Can we stop OpenAI? Can we? No, we can't. We're not going to stop billion-dollar companies. But how we use this, how we purport to be ethical users, etc., is a big part of how this stays on the right track long term. So hope you'll join us in that in the long term. I just said that twice, but it's perfectly fine. All right, that's another wrap of an episode of the HiTech Podcast. We do encourage you to go follow us and do all the good things. Email us, inbox at hitechpod.us. Some spicy thoughts in this one, so if you want to engage, please do. We're happy to have the conversation with folks. If you want to come on the pod, or if you just want to shout at us, and if you want to talk theology, Josh and I are both in, but if you really want to get in with Josh and the creator things, I'll forward that right along. So enjoy, folks. Find us all in this episode at hitechpod.us. Until next week, we're going to wrap this one. Empowering minds.
Embracing tech, sort of, but definitely hoverboards. If you can make a real hoverboard, if you're listening and you have the capability, make a real one.
Jeez.
Cheers.
Cheers.